Who were the best performers for the Lions this year from Pro Football Focus? And our buddy Ross Tucker joins us today. It's a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is happening, everybody? Matt Dery with you. It is a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, January 11th to Thursday, January 12th. Thanks for checking us out today, making us your first listen each and every day here on Locked On Lions. You can find us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page. And as always, those of you watching on the YouTube channel, Locked On Lions, we appreciate you doing that as well. Comment section galore. I know there's some people that I've been thanking all week that have been loyal listeners to the podcast, and I appreciate you guys, whether it's a Terry Shell, Joe Grislack, my buddy Mark Barbas, people that I've not mentioned before. I'll continue to sprinkle in. Big supporters of the pod, and we appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. Promised you this, Pro Football Focus, they grade everybody out. We tell you each and every Monday who the best performers were on offense and defense and the worst performers each week. Who are the top guys throughout the season, though, now that the season is done and the Lions campaign ends at 9-8? We'll get into that momentarily. Also, Ross Tucker of the Ross Tucker podcast, Draft Kings NFL Analyst, and NFL Analyst for Westwood One. Ross will be the color analyst for Sunday's Dolphins and Bills game on the radio side. So if you're driving around and get the game, you'll hear Ross's voice. He's going to join us momentarily here from Pennsylvania in his home. And we'll talk a little Detroit Lions football with Ross coming up. Tomorrow, I want to get into the schedule for next year a little bit. I got some stats to throw your way. But look, who performed the best for the Lions this season when it comes to our friends at Pro Football Focus? I'm a big PFF guy. You know that. We've had PFF people on the show. And, their grading system is used by most every team. So I wanted to look up and kind of give you a background on how PFF thought the Lions individual players ranked this season. No surprise on offense. Your top 5 Lions offensive performers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, whose grade for the season was 90.7, which is incredible. Penei Sewell, who is just a dominant force at right tackle, 80.3, came in second. Frank Ragnow, Pro Bowl center, batting third, 77.9. Speaking of batting third, how about the Tigers? Oh, yeah, they're changing those dimensions at Comerica Park. What's going to be the excuse when they lose 100 games again? Anyway, DeAndre Swift, number 4 at 77.8. And number 5, Taylor Decker, played in all 17 games for the Lions this year, a 74.6 grade. Those are your top 5 Lions offensive players: St. Brown, Sewell, Ragnow, Swift, and Decker, according to PFF. Bottom 5. And again, I'm not going to just take the guys that played in 1 game or 2 games. I'm going to like a minimum of 4 games. Logan Stenberg was the lowest graded Lion, 39.6. Dan Skipper was second worst at 44.2. Matt Nelson, third worst at 46.3. Jason Kabinda, the fullback, 48.5. And Coyote Owosika, the guard, at 50.4. So those are your bottom 5 Lions offensive performers this year. On defense, your top defender, no surprise at all, Aiden Hutchinson, 80.7. How about a rookie being your best defensive player, according to Pro Football Focus? Second was James Houston, 80.2. He only played in the last 7 games. Brad Holmes said it yesterday. We were just trying to figure out when to get him in the game, when to elevate him from the practice squad. And he was tremendous. C.J. Moore came in third. It's kind of interesting. A backup safety, 70.0. Aleem McNeil, fourth at 69.8. He made a giant leap this year. And John Kaminsky, 68.6. I know Ross is a big John Kaminsky fan. Those are your top 5 Lions players on defense. As far as bottom 5, not a surprise. Who do you think was the worst graded Lions defender? Come on. We all know who it is. Amani Oruwariye in 13 games got a 30 grade, 30.0. Not good. Julian Okwara, second lowest in 10 games, 46.7. Austin Bryant, third worst, 51.2. Michael Brockers, you have to figure will not be back next year, 51.3. And Anthony Pittman, 52.6. Those are your top 5 and bottom 5 Lions performers on the season from our friends at PFF. What a year it was for the Lions. And, man, still sitting here on a Wednesday after the season ended and just excited about so many different angles that we can get to and what's going to be next for this football team, et cetera. We're going to talk about it as well next, coming up with Ross Tucker. I forgot to tell you that Locked On Lions today is also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by TurboTax. Stop doing your own taxes. It's a mess. It annoys you. You don't want to do it, right? You have no interest in it at all. Go to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Meet with an expert who will do them for you. TurboTax experts can relieve you from the stress of taxes and file so you can do anything else, not taxes. Show your eyes things that are not taxes. Unpack a moving box of not taxes. Taste, not taxes. Sing, not taxes, etc. With TurboTax, an expert will do your taxes from start to finish, ensuring your taxes are done right, guaranteed, so you can relax. Feels good to be done with your taxes, doesn't it? Come to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. Intuit, TurboTax, full-service products only, video, meeting while expert does your taxes required. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Oh, it's a pleasure to get this guy back on the pod. Ross Tucker, Draft Kings NFL Analyst, Westwood One, the Ross Tucker Podcast. Lion season is done, but Ross has been impressed with what's going on with them, and he joins us today. What's up, brother?
You know what's funny, Matt? I think like a lot of people, a lot of America, and it's okay to admit this, I'm bummed the Lions aren't in the playoffs, and kudos in all sincerity. Kudos to the Seahawks. Nobody, I thought they'd be one of the worst teams in the league. Even their fans did. Like after the Russell Wilson trade, Matt, Seahawks fans are like, yeah, so what? We're just going to be terrible. We'll draft our next quarterback, and then we'll be good for a decade again. And I was like, yeah, if only it were that easy, bro. Like it's not that easy to just draft your next franchise quarterback. Ask a lot of these teams. So even Seahawks fans thought they were more or less tanking this year. So kudos to Geno Smith. It's a great story and the Seahawks. But let's be honest. I mean, America would rather see the Lions in the playoffs.
America's team, Ross.
You know what? Or the Packers, to be honest with you. I mean, I think what's interesting is like out of the 3 teams that were trying to be the 7th seed in both the NFC and the AFC, I kind of feel like we got the teams that people are least interested in.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like,
you said it on your
Packers Niners would have been sweet. Lions Niners would have been awesome. Seahawks Niners is like, eh. And then in the AFC, Steelers Bills would have been cool. Steelers are on a roll. Even Patriots like getting in. It's like, okay, it's Belichick, it's Patriots. But the Dolphins, especially with their quarterback situation, it's like they're limping in.
It's horrible. It's horrible. All right, I want to get into the Lions and everything else. I know you're doing a game this weekend, but apparently my sources tell me you're like Mr. Valentine's Day. What's up with that?
Well, not just Valentine's Day. First of all, I will tell you, I am a romantic, like sentimental, you know what. I mean, like I don't even like action movies that much, bro. I like romantic comedies. Which is one of the reasons why I love myfrontpagestory.com. My buddy started the business they write the most unbelievable story about your significant other. Like it looks like it's on the cover of the Detroit Free Press or whatever. Like, it looks amazing. Beautiful pictures of her or the two of you, and then all these quotes from you about how great she is. You literally talk to the writer for 5 minutes on your way to Little Caesars or something and tell them how great your significant other is. They write this amazing story, and then you're able to say to her as she's opening it, she won't even know what it is. You'll be like, hey, I want to do something special for you for Valentine's Day. I had a story written about you. Like that just sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And then she reads the quotes about like, I never tell her enough how much I appreciate everything she does for the kids. She will cry, Matt. I'm telling you. MyFrontPageStory.com. It is the best Valentine's gift you can get anybody. MyFrontPageStory.com. In fact, I'm going to make Alex Anzalone get it for his wife.
Oh, geez. That's your guy. You know what? To be honest, all of these guys, you and I were on, you came on the show about 5-6 weeks ago, and all of these players got better this year. Alex Anzalone, who was a cast-off from the Saints on a pair of one-year deals, got better under Aaron Glenn. You saw the improvement of Jared Goff under Ben Johnson. What does that say about the culture, the coaching staff, and the job they did this year?
It's interesting because I think Lions fans respect Alex, but it feels like they all think they need somebody better there. I thought he had probably his best year, and I'm actually curious to see what he gets in free agency. You know, the big knock on him had always been just the injury history. But he stayed healthy all year. He's very athletic. And, I mean, that play he made on 4th down against the Packers on the jet sweep, that was huge. You know, if you're athletic and smart, and he's super smart, you got a shot, man. And especially when you got a young guy playing next to you, like Rodriguez. We'll see. I know this much. I bet you Aaron Glenn would not be happy about the idea of Alex not being out there, getting everybody lined up, making sure everybody's in the right position, right? Like, that's a big part of playing defensive football. But you're right. I do think a lot of the guys on the defense got better. I'd be excited about the young guys. You know, I mean, I thought Ali McNeil did some good things. Hutchinson obviously is a stud. And I know Trayvon Walker played pretty well against the Titans in the last game, but I guess he'd have a long way to go at this point to be better than Hutchinson is, right? Yeah. We know that. Kirby Joseph, the guy is like Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite. Matt. What is the deal with that? I mean, in the 2 games, I feel like I saw him pick off Aaron Rodgers 7 times. Now, there was penalties or whatever on like 4 of them. But in my head, how many times did Kirby Joseph pick off Aaron Rodgers? It's unbelievable. So he'll be better. Okuda will be better. You know who else I really like? Kaminsky.
Yeah.
Kaminsky is a poor man's Aiden Hutchinson. Kaminsky is like Aiden Hutchinson light. They look the same body type. They've got the same numbers, just flipped. Half the time when Kaminsky does something, I'm like, man, Hutchinson again. And then they're like, no, it's Kaminsky. And I'm wondering what's going on. And obviously, to get what they got out of James Houston this year, I mean, they get a lot. I mean, the arrow is up on a lot of these dudes. Kaminsky was like a journeyman that made a lot of plays in Detroit.
Yep. Ross Tucker with us, Ross Tucker Podcast, Draft Kings NFL Analyst, Westwood One as well. And to hear him all over the radio side, we talked the last time he was on. Love him on the DA show, Dan Patrick, and all of that. All right, so 9-8, they don't get in to the playoffs, but a leap of 6 wins from 3 to 9. What's next? What should be the goal for year 3 here of this Holmes-Campbell regime?
Is it fair to say, Matt, before I answer that, is it fair to say that Lions fans are pretty pumped, even though they didn't make the playoffs? Was the Packers game was probably like the switch that took it from nice season to really happy, even though we didn't make the playoffs. Is that fair?
Yes. Amen. Oh, yeah. I've never seen a game that had no implications get that much juice around here. People were jacked, and they got eliminated, obviously, an hour before the game.
But that almost enhances Campbell and that team that they got eliminated, and then they still went out there and beat their you-know-what. You know what I mean? Like, that almost enhances, like, the Detroit mindset and mentality. And I think it's a huge, huge feather in Dan Campbell's cap that those guys went out there and played like that, even though they knew they couldn't go to the playoffs. I mean, it was awesome. Well, I think one of the things that's really cool about the Lions is I don't think they need a new quarterback. You know, it was almost like coming into the year, it was like a foregone conclusion that they needed to get better, you know, that they were going to draft a new quarterback. And what was their record? Were they 1-6 at one point?
Yeah, 1-6, and then ended up 8-2. Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of people were thinking when they were 1-6, all right, well, at least they can draft their quarterback now. And that doesn't preclude them, by the way, from drafting a guy at some point and trying to develop him. But I don't feel a sense of urgency at all to take one in the first round. And Goff, do you know how much off the top of your head he's making per year? I can look it up, Matt, but
no, it's over 20 million, but
right?
his cap number was going to come down this year and all of that. I mean, he's a $26 million a year quarterback, but again, based on the contract, he was making the most this season. But now
that's
right.
awesome. And by the way, that's like a steal. I mean, I think Daniel Jones will end up getting a lot more than that this offseason. And I think Jared Goff is a better player.
Sure.
So Goff is now becoming affordable. And when you look at this team, I mean, with Jameson Williams all offseason, getting ready for next year, you add that explosive element to Chark, Reynolds, and Amon-Ra. I mean, O-line, don't let any of them go. Feel good about that. I mean, if they want to do something at right guard, maybe, but feel pretty good about that. I think tight end somewhere they could look. Although, obviously, Brock Wright and Zylstra had their moments. Running backs, I feel pretty good about. I mean, that's what's really exciting about this team is there's not a lot of spots where you think are clear upgrades. I would like to see them probably get another D tackle.
Yes.
I think another D tackle. I wouldn't be surprised if they do get another linebacker in the mix. And then the secondary is probably the spot where I would imagine they'd be the most aggressive. You think that's fair?
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't think there's any question about it. I would think at 18, they would be on a cornerback. They got the 2 first-round picks, of course, the Rams at 6, and then their own at 18, and you'd figure that's probably a corner.
Dude, how about getting a bad you-know-what D lineman at 6 and a corner at 18? And similar to like what the Chiefs did, where they got Karlaftis, who had a really good year, and Trent McDuffie this past year, the Lions could do that, and, man, they would be in a really, really good place. If they could get an interior guy and on D-line and get a corner, I mean, they might get an off-the-ball backer if somebody blows them away, but usually you don't do that high in the draft unless you really, really think the guy is going to be a major upgrade over what you already have.
No question about it. More with Ross Tucker coming up next. A couple of minutes with him. I want to tell you first, though, about Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories. You got to try a Built Bar. We've gone through the holidays now. I know my goal is to eat a little bit healthier. You can and still enjoy the taste with Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't know they're good for you. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. Great flavors, churro, peanut butter, brownie, coconut almond, of course, my favorite, the cookies and cream. And most of them have a whopping 17 grams of protein and only 130 calories. It's great. Now, they've got them now at Sam's Club, at Built.com, and at your local Walmart. Go there now at Built Bar, Built.com. Ross Tucker with us, Ross Tucker Podcast, Draft Kings NFL Analyst. Are you where are you? Buffalo this weekend? Is that right? Miami and Buffalo for Westwood?
Yes. Yeah, I'll be doing the Dolphins-Bills game on Sunday.
But you even said it before. You probably wish it was Pittsburgh now that it might be Skylar Thompson under center for Miami.
No question. And I would like to see Teddy Bridgewater try to give it a go.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. He had a dislocated pinky. I know that's not ideal, but you know, people always ask you, like, as a broadcaster, you know, what are you rooting for or whatever. I'm rooting for a close game.
Sure.
I'm rooting for it to be an interesting, competitive game because then more people watch, and it's also more entertaining for me. I mean, if Skylar Thompson plays and doesn't play well, and it's a blowout for the Bills, then the second half, it's like you end up talking about other stuff, and it's just not fun. It's so much more fun when it's a close, competitive game.
Who's making a run in the NFC? The Lions obviously look up and say, all right, we finished in second place. We knocked Green Bay out. Here's Minnesota above the Lions. Detroit led the Vikings for all but 47 seconds in the two games they played. Who's making a run in the NFC? And what do you think of Minnesota, obviously, in the division?
You know what's interesting? Just as you say that, right? I kind of feel like the Lions could pretty easily make the leap to being the third or fourth best team in the conference next year.
Mm.
Easily might not be the right word, but my point is I don't think the Seahawks and Giants are necessarily better than them or the Bucks. That's three playoff teams right there. Now, obviously, the Cowboys and the Vikings, the Eagles, the Niners, their records are pretty impressive, but I could see a scenario where the Lions are the third best team in the NFC next year, maybe better than that. Philadelphia's roster is just so good, and so is the 49ers, really. I mean, both those teams just have a bunch of dudes that are like Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber guys all over the roster. I don't know if the Lions will quite be able to get there next year, but there's no reason in my mind they shouldn't have expectations to win the NFC North and maybe even be like the third seed, maybe be there. I mean, they could be higher, but I think double-digit wins, winning the NFC North, and being maybe third or fourth seed seem very, very reasonable for next year for the Lions.
What about this year? Who's you have Super Bowl predictions, or who do you think is going to get out of the each conference?
Matt, there's only 5 teams I can even see in the Super Bowl. And maybe I'm wrong, but in the NFC, I have a hard time picturing it being somebody other than the Eagles or Niners.
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels like those two teams have the easiest path, and it feels like they're a step above everybody else. AFC, there's 3. It's the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals. I could see any of those 3 getting there. The Bengals obviously have the hardest path, but they had a pretty hard path last year, and they were able to get it done. I don't know that they can do that 2 years in a row, though. That seems tough, right? They'd have to win a game against the Ravens, which they probably will. Doesn't sound like Lamar Jackson's going to play. But then they got to go to Buffalo and to Kansas City more than likely. That feels like an uphill battle to do something like that a second year in a row. So I really do think it comes down to probably we'll see if it's a neutral site game or not. The Bengals might be able to knock off the Bills and then go to Kansas City, but should be pretty awesome. But those are the only 5 teams I can see in the Super Bowl. Some combination of those 5. If I had to pick, I always pick, the teams with the easiest path. Teams that don't even have to play a game this weekend, Eagles, Chiefs, but wouldn't be surprised if it's any of those 5.
Ross, always love talking to you, brother. Thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
Ross Tucker with us from the Ross Tucker Podcast, Draft Kings NFL Analyst, and he'll be on the call on Westwood One Saturday for the Bills and I should say Sunday, for the Bills and the Dolphins. We're back again tomorrow. And hey, Matt Dery here. We got to tell you about our friends, got to tell you about our buddies at Ultimate Football GM. Oh, my goodness gracious. So much fun to play Ultimate Football GM, where you can be an NFL GM. If you ever dreamed of being one, managing your own football franchise, check out Ultimate GM. Your dream can come true. It's a really fun game. You can do it during the playoffs right now. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead your team to glory. You're responsible for hiring the right coaches and coordinators, trading players, making draft picks, navigating your franchise through free agency. It's all coming up this offseason. It should be a lot of fun. So hop on and get involved at ultimate-gm.com. Locked On Lions listeners get a 100% free boost to your franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDON in all caps in the game store. That's Locked On in all caps. So make sure you check it out today. Download the game at ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today.